What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, it was bound to happen sooner or later. We got a dud of a game, a blowout of a game in the Western Conference Finals finale. How you doing today?
Happened sooner or later. What are you talking about? A blowout? Isn't that what the whole series was?
The whole series was, but this game in particular was the worst of them all.
I was sitting there getting ready to watch the game, and we were just kind of discussing what do you think's about to happen, that kind of thing. And I said I thought they would win by double digits, like they would be kind of in control of the game, but Minnesota maybe within arm's reach for a while, and then at some point in the fourth quarter, Oklahoma City would probably go on a little run and win by 12, 15. I mean, what we watched last night, it's to think that a team in the Western Conference Finals, you survived the Western Conference to get to the last series, right? Representing your conference in the NBA Finals, and to look like you don't belong on the court with the team you're playing was shocking to me. I'm sorry, it was shocking. I know Oklahoma City's been the best team in the league. I understand that. They won 68 games, but they just completely dismantled the Timberwolves. And they what they did to them in the first quarter and the way Minnesota reacted to that leading into the second. And so the entire first half was just it was so far below the level of what you need to play at. If this is the series that you're in, you know what I mean? That's kind of how I felt about the Timberwolves, man. Like they looked completely incompetent offensively in the first half of that game with their inability to just handle the ball, pass the ball cleanly anywhere on the court. And then when they did get open looks, they couldn't make a three to save their life in the first quarter. So you add all that up, and this is what you get, man. In Oklahoma City, they feed off of it unlike I think any team I've ever seen. The way that they feed off what they're doing to you defensively, the way it energizes them.
That's exactly what it felt like last night, man. I mean, it felt like a team rising, and it felt like a team that smelled blood in the water. And then once the game started and they were able to punch first, and they did, they punched right away, it just snowballed from there. Oklahoma City grew in aggressiveness. It's like it was that first quarter, because as the first quarter starts, it's like, okay, OKC has energy. They're getting a pick. Halfway through, they have even more energy. And then to close it was just a haymaker. And the score was 26-9. This is the second time in this playoff run for Oklahoma City that they have held an opponent to under 10 points in the opening quarter. I mean, we talked about this defense all year long. We've talked about them in the playoffs all year long. But to me, they are every bit as good as advertised, every bit as good as the numbers have said. But they also seem to be getting better at what they do as this playoffs go on. And to put the clamps on to the tune of 9 points in the first quarter, to me, it's one of the best defenses we've seen.
They now have 12 wins in the postseason. 5 of those, so it's almost half. They've won by 26, two in the 30s, 1 in the 40s, and 1 in the 50s in terms of point differential.
Insane. That's insane.
That's almost half their wins. And we talk about the West all year long. The West, East had 2 great teams at the top, and then it was kind of like, okay, we don't know who's next. We were talking about the Knicks and the Bucks and the Pacers, the Sixers at one point, like whatever, whoever you want to talk about in that category. But the West was the whole time we were like, man, not only do you have OKC, you've got these other teams that that Houston and Memphis at one point. They kind of like you realize they weren't quite ready. But then you looked at these other teams that were like coming from the bottom of the pack because they added guys later. The Lakers, the Warriors, right? These teams, Denver in the mix all year, Minnesota, you're like, this is such a juggernaut. The West, the West, the West. I just mentioned the point differential in 5 of the 12 wins. It's an average of 40 points a game in
Scary.
5 games. It's incredible. There's no other word for it. They make NBA players look less than that with their defense.
It's a
They
good way
do.
to put it. Yeah.
They do. This is supposed to be the best of the best. And I'm not trying to just bury Minnesota. I'm actually trying to praise Oklahoma City more than even burying Minnesota. This is what the Thunder do to you. Like, look, I don't know what I played against some great defenses, man. The best I ever saw were the mid-90s Bulls teams. Those are the best defenses I ever saw. When you put Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Ron Harper on the court together, like, that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And so I know what that felt like, but I still didn't feel like it was impossible to dribble the ball into any gap on the court because you were likely to get it stripped or deflected or just have the space closed up on you immediately. Those guys were hard to handle the ball against too, that I just mentioned, and they full court pressed you after free throws, which nobody in the league was doing, and that was hard to advance the ball. But you could still, like, I felt like, pass the ball cleanly and dribble the ball cleanly. They just contested everything. This team, there's nowhere to go with the ball. And what's really amazing, Adam, more than anything else, I was thinking about this last night. So Lou Dort is first team all-league defense. I voted him for defensive player of the year. So that caliber defender, we all know how he's regarded. I'm sure you feel the same way about him. Imagine having a guy like that defensively guarding Anthony Edwards, and when there is some sort of a switch that takes place, he's handing him off to a guy that is equally as good defensively as he is.
Yep.
And by the way, not just one guy. There's 3 other guys that they have on the perimeter that are almost just as good as Dort. Dort's just a little bigger, stronger, like fights over picks better as a result. But as far as ball containment and pressure, it's no different than what you get with Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, and Cason Wallace. So you watch it and you go, it's really incredible. They've got this number of guys to play perimeter defense with ball pressure and containment at this level. I don't know that I've ever seen a team with 4 guys that fall in that category. By the way, Shea's no slouch either. He's pretty good on the ball defender as well. So I think that's what stood out to me last night, man. There was nowhere to go to get relief in that first quarter. And then, man, did they smell it. And they knew this is our chance to end this game right now in the first 16 minutes. And they did.
Yeah, and they did it the exact way they've done it all year long, only a little bit better. I like this comment by Drew Chung in the chat here. He says, sometimes I think of OKC not as pit bulls, but as piranhas. And it's kind of true. That's the way they play. Like, everybody says, oh, that team, they got a bunch of dogs, they're pit bulls. They really are piranhas in that they're everywhere. They're everywhere all at once. So you're in a straitjacket. And if you get around that front line of defense, which, by the way, never happens, almost never did you see Anthony Edwards, who's a really talented player. They'd send 2 guys at him sometimes. But even if he gets around that first line of defense, you're met by a second body early. And if you make the open pass, to the guy skip pass or whatever it is, somebody closes the gap so quickly. So not only is it hard to get off of that first defender, but even when you do and make the right play, they just close the gap on you in a way that takes that away as well. It's impressive. They do it over and over again. And to your point, it's because there isn't a weak link out there. Nobody that plays is not a great defender. Everybody in the rotation is a phenomenal defender. So there's never respite. There's never reprieve.
No. And so, look, when you do that to a team in the first quarter of a closeout game, quarter ends, 9 points. 9 points in the first quarter. All right,
it's over.
It's so you go, okay, terrible, and they did miss. I had them send me. I wanted all of the missed threes from the first quarter on one tape. They sent it to me last night at the end of the first quarter. I'd say 5 or 6 of those absolutely clean looks that you got to make your share of those. They make 3 of those. You're probably down 8. They're still not winning the game, and you still might get beat by 30. I don't know, but I do know this. You at least feel when the second quarter starts, you're in the game. And like now, maybe you start the quarter out with a couple of buckets and it's a 4-point game. And now maybe it's normal for a while. When it's 26-9, you've got about 3 minutes to start the second quarter to change this. You've got to get this to like 10. Like at some point here in the first 4 or 5 minutes, you're down 17 and it just ballooned quickly. Before you knew it was 25. And now you can really see the look on the faces of everybody on Minnesota and the frustration. And then it was really, okay, let's just get on to the summer. Because we have nothing for this team. They're way too good defensively. And it's not just them. They've done this to a lot of people. I was telling you before we came on, one of the things what I noticed last night was, and I was using words, and Scott Van Pelt was funny. He was writing them down as I was just talking. I wasn't even trying to say something in a certain way. I was just talking. I said, they're cruel. They're almost cruel in the way they do this because they string them together. They're converting, the lead's building. They see your frustration, and it's just worse the next trip. It's just like, and it's like that little drop of blood in the water for like a bunch of sharks. That's literally what you're watching. And then I said something at one point about they take the joy out of the game for you.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
not play against them. Like, and basketball is fun when you're playing well offensively. Guys are scoring. Like, that's the fun part of the game. They take all that off the table. Oh, no. This is going to be like going in for like a double root canal with no anesthesia. That's what we're going to do to you right now. No fun here. No fun to be had on this end of the floor. And so we were laughing about it, but that's kind of how I would describe them. And they do it, Adam, without taunting, without pointing at you, without chesting you up, without taunting you. They don't really do that. They feed off the collective energy that they have together as this team, this united team. And it's really kind of fascinating to watch because they don't do any of that stuff. Every now and then, maybe Caruso a little bit. Chet, maybe on a dunk, will talk to, like, just scream.
Yeah, just normal, regular, nothing
normal
crazy
stuff. Nothing's over the top. And they're not like shutting you down and chirping at you as you go to take the ball out of bounds on the side, and they're like walking with you and in your ear. They don't do that stuff. And some of the greater defensive teams in the league over the last 30, 40 years, that's kind of how they acted on that end of the floor.
Yep.
So it's like a bunch of good dudes that are more energized by what they have created internally than how you're reacting. And it's kind of like amazing to watch, really, to see a team be this shut down defensively. And let's see what whoever comes out of the East has for them, man. It's going to be better than this series. There's no doubt in my mind the Knicks or Pacers will give this team a better series, but it's fascinating to think about, how the OKC could try to shut those two teams down as well.
Well, I like your point here because I agree with you that there's like a cruelty to them, but it's not for something they're doing. It's just that it's so demoralizing when they get on those runs. And I thought the end of this game, it was 36-32. Oklahoma City outscores them in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter started down 27 points or something like that. So it's not like it was close, and they still outscored them. And I thought how the game closed is what you're talking about. It was cruel. There were 12 exclamation points on the end of this game, and they were steals, transition, three, crowd goes nuts. Steal, transition, dunk, crowd goes nuts. And it was, again, nothing. They weren't outside the lines or doing anything like that. It's just they don't stop. And that part of it just breaks your spirit. And I have to ask you, super producer James shares this stat. In 9 home playoff games, so at home in OKC, they are plus 231. On the road, there's been some close games. They've gotten beat. They've had some close ones. But at home, they're not just winning, plus 231 in 9 games. Everything's a blowout.
So that is over 25 a game, right? That's like 25.6, if my math does me right in my top of my head.
Look at the big brains on legs.
So think about what we're talking about here, man. It's, actually the most sympathy I had last night was for my colleagues calling this series. Mike Breen and Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson. And, they had one game with meaningful possessions late. That's all you care about as a game analyst. Just give me something to talk about that's fun and break down strategy at the end of the game. And, all that. There's none of that. No, that's gone. We're taking that. Now, let's talk a little bit about Minnesota. okay, they did contribute to this. This isn't just like, oh, they came out with their A game and they
Yeah,
got run off the
saw their
floor. No,
weaknesses.
come on. At one point, I was actually kind of like, are you kidding me with this level of ball handling right now? Like the number of sloppy, just tripping over your own feet, getting the ball stripped and knocked off your leg out of bounds, the inability to like run dribble handoffs and like basic stuff. So maybe the concentration level wasn't fully there because they didn't, once the game started and you're 6 minutes in and you're getting roasted, maybe, I don't know, you just kind of let go from a concentration standpoint. It opened my eyes to something, though, Adam. Like this team is now 2 years in a row, Western Conference Finals, 5 games, they're going home. So you're talking about what a year. Man, really good year, ascending, win 2 playoff rounds. Man, here they come. And then you realize when you get to this point, you're so far from winning it that now last year you go, okay, they got a taste, didn't go right for them in the conference. Okay, next year. Now here you go. They were better this year. They get there and the same thing happens. Actually, worse, way worse. So now you have to look at, okay, what does Minnesota need to add going into next season? And to me, watching them last night, it was obvious. And I love Mike Conley. Love him.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players in his time in the league. Can't say enough about him. He is past the point, this stage of his career, to being the guy that you can have as your lead ball handler trying to create stuff for other people. Anthony Edwards shouldn't have all that on his plate. He should be able to just go be Jordan, go be Kobe in terms of mentality. Yeah, they're going to get assists organically out of it, but just that's not what I'm worried about right now. I'm not worried about setting up Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle. I'm worried about going and foot on the gas, attack you. And yes, double teams come, I'll make plays. Somebody else, though, has got to set the table for these other guys. And the ball handling was so far below that level of competition, it was eye-opening to me. The sloppiness with the turnovers and the inability to do simple things on the court, even forget what OKC was doing. Some of this is on Minnesota, and it was really just inept, their ability to operate offensively against that level defense.
100%, man. And I like your point about the point guard because here's when Oklahoma City has no defensive weaknesses, they move as well as they do, every guy in the rotation, then that makes how do you beat them? Well, you're going to have multiple creators because you're not going to be able to beat them with one action pick and roll, come across the top and, oh, I got to an opening. You're going to have to work them to get an open shot. And to do that, you need multiple facilitators, multiple playmakers. We saw this in the Denver series. As great of a stat line as Jokic was able to put up, if you got the ball out of his hands and it just died, there was going to be a contested shot. You had to move it, attack, and get something. And for Minnesota, I think Ant, obviously he had his comments after the game. He's going to have to grow as a player, but they doubled him all game. They were saying, we're going to double you. Who do you throw to that keeps the ball moving, that keeps the attack going? And when Mike Conley was on the floor, they could do a little bit of that. But to your point, he's too slow, he's too little, he's too old. They don't have enough of those guys. And to me, that's the key now. Everybody's going to have to chase Oklahoma City with how dominant they were. They're going to have to chase them. And that means you need multiple facilitators to play at the same time with, oh, by the way, they can't be defensive weaknesses either.
No, you're 100% right, man. And I think now if you're Minnesota and you've got this star player and you've got another all-star next to him who had a very good playoff run. I know he didn't play well in this series, Julius Randle, but he had a very good playoff run. And, maybe this is something they can build on, the two of them at full season together. But you're looking at yourself relative to what's left. Look at what the Knicks, the Pacers, and the Thunder have at the lead guard spot. It's a guy that can manipulate the ball anywhere on the floor. They can beat you with 30. And in case of Brunson and Shea, that's kind of their MO mainly. Now they get a good assist numbers too, but their main thing is every time I'm attacking you. Even last night in a game like that was almost a 40-point game in the second quarter. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander took 25 shots last night. That's the way he operates. That's what Brunson does. Now Haliburton, it can be both on some nights, like the other night when he was practically perfect at the position. There's other nights when maybe it is 16 out of him and he gets you 13 assists because he's a little different in that way. But regardless, they're elite as the lead guard. This is the primary guy handling the ball most of the game when they're on the floor, and this is what they're capable of doing. Anthony Edwards is a two guard. He's a raw scoring guard. That's why I use the names like Kobe and Michael Jordan, because that's their position. They could obviously beat you as a passer when need be because they're that great. That's not what their primary thought process was. It was go, 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 go at you. That's what Shea does. That's what Brunson does. Haliburton a little bit different. Regardless, they're all elite. Minnesota doesn't have that. They don't have that. And if you look at Mike Conley, again, love him. Let's laud him for his career. Mike Conley is your starting point guard, had 12 assists in 5 games. So you're talking about a guy that is only out there because he's safe. He can make an occasional open three. He's steady, and he still is a pretty good defender. But you have to be able, every time Mike Conley put the ball on the floor, like off a ball screen, he's either going to get into the lane and shoot that little floater, and he likes to shoot it with his right hand a lot, or he'll shoot a three. He's not like ever going downhill, ball screen, lob to Conley, or I'm sorry, lob to Gobert, or cross-court kick out to the opposite wing for a three because he created it with his penetration. That's what these other teams have. That's what they have. And there's other teams that have that too. I haven't even gotten to. So the fact that they don't have that, it's got to be something they address in the offseason. Only thing I heard Chris Finch talk about after the game last night was some of these younger guys need a chance to play. I agree. Terrence Shannon Jr. at the top of the list going into next season. Extend your rotation. Give some young legs more minutes. I agree with all of that. But the main issue, he's not going to say this because it might be insulting to Mike Conley. They've got to address their lead guard situation if you really want to contend with the teams that are left playing now. And there's even a couple more in the West that didn't make it this far that are going to be in the mix next year.
And it does seem like the Thunder are going to be able to sustain this. I mean, some of the parts, they have great players that maybe they have to part ways with here in the coming years, but it's a conveyor belt of guys that they seem to be able to bring in. Because to your point, let's say the Timberwolves lose Mike Conley and gain a new point guard. Well, that gives them one, but you still have to have somebody else on the court at some point in time. And that player, I don't know. Tell me if you agree with this. I don't know that you could have a really good point guard against this team if they're slow because of how quick they are athletically. Like, you can't just ease your way into the paint against them, Jalen Brunson style, and kind of pivot around. They're so athletic that they're just constantly hunting you. I almost feel like you have to have a quickness from your lead guard position to be able to create rotations out of them. So even if they need a point guard, they need 2 of them now.
So you're saying specifically to deal with the Thunder?
Specifically to deal with the Thunder, you have to have speed with the ball in your hands for 48 minutes because they'll swallow you up if you don't.
In a lot of ways, I kind of agree with you that the approach for the West, because this team is not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't know if this is going to end in a title this year. They're going to be the favorites in the finals, no matter who they play, the prohibitive favorites, probably. They're going to get a better test than what they just got. There's no question in my mind. But the barometer in this league right now is them, because you have to figure out how you can operate effectively against that defense. And so you're right. It probably does take more than one. And I don't know. Listen, I'm so dialed into like game by game analysis right now. I don't think about who's available as a free agent or who can they get in the draft or like whatever it may be. I haven't even thought about, I don't think about that stuff till after the season. So I don't know what the answer is specifically, like a name for you. I don't know. I just know it was glaring to me in this series, and particularly last night. It was like a perfect end of the series in terms of pound that gavel, make your case. This is what this team is lacking, and you could see it last night. They were incapable of handling the ball cleanly against that level of pressure. And most teams are going to struggle against it too, but it was just almost appalling, like how difficult it was for them to operate against that level of pressure.
Right. And I want to save if it is the Pacers, I want to save our preview for next week because one, we'll have time. It looks like if these series wrap up last night and tonight, we'll have time next week to preview it. But the Pacers do have the most point guards of any team in the NBA. And that is part of what would make it interesting is you can't turn the ball over against the Thunder. They have a plus 100 turnover differential in their playoff run so far. It's not a very long playoff run. It's not that many games and they're already plus 100. So what would it look like against a team that's good at not turning the ball over? It has multiple creators. Does that create a mismatch? We'll talk about that next week. But to me, it almost looks like that's going to have to be the blueprint because Oklahoma City will just swallow you up if you have anybody who is vulnerable to turning it over or can't get through the first line of defense. Let's talk about Minnesota real quick. How do you evaluate their 2-year run here? 2 years to the Western Conference Finals, 2 years losing in 5 games. So they're both close, but not close, depending on how you look at it.
Very, very, very difficult thing to assess because it's like I said, it's like, I don't know what else I can compare it to. You know what I mean? It's almost like, let's say it's like an Olympic boxer. Okay. And they I don't know how many bouts you have to win the gold medal, but it's like you smoke or win decisively your early round bouts. And then you get to the medal round and you get knocked out in 5 seconds.
It might
so you kind of,
we'll give him 60 seconds. Come on. It wasn't 5
whatever.
seconds.
All right, 60 seconds. Fine. Whatever. Fine. Regardless, the smelling salts came out in the first round. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Okay. Asking you what day of the week it is in your corner. Okay. That happened in this fight. So regardless of that, whatever, that's what it, so it's like, my God, I'm not sure how to take this because it's like, man, like I said earlier, like Julius Randle, I think it was the best I'd ever seen him play through the first 2 rounds. And then he's really super ineffective in this series. So you're like, okay, man, what does that mean then? Like, you're good enough to a certain degree. Like, you're better than most of the teams in the NBA. But then there's this other class of teams, well, specifically one that's going to be in your way now and for the foreseeable future that you're miles from. That's how I'm looking at them. And so it comes down to personnel. Anthony Edwards, there's no question he got frustrated in this series. Yeah. I don't blame him. I don't know what that's like. I wasn't on that level. I was the guy that would have been counted on to knock down the open threes that they were missing last night in the first quarter. Like, that would have been my role. I wouldn't have been handling the ball against guys 80 feet up the floor. Like, I did a touchscreen last night on Lou Dort. The game was like 3-3. That's the touchscreen I chose because Lou Dort picked him up 80 feet up the court. He turned him 3 times before he got to half court. And at half court, Rudy Gobert set a screen trying to free up Anthony Edwards and get him off of him. And Isaiah Hartenstein was up hedging so hard in the backcourt, he actually forced Anthony Edwards to pick the ball up. Like, you see the screener come back there to relieve the pressure. You never see the defender back there. I mean, I remember getting wiped out by how many screens guarding the ball off the floor. And the defender of the guy that set the pick on me, my teammate, was all the way back in the lane. Yeah. Hey, legs, watch out, screen. Isaiah Hartenstein he jumped into the backcourt with both feet. And they forced him to pass the ball. And I'm going, man, oh man, oh man. Imagine 48 minutes of this for Anthony Edwards. What that feels like, man. Constantly getting the ball the second time. And then Dort denied him the rest of the possession. Like, he finally got it back, like 6 seconds on the clock, and he's 40 feet from the basket. I don't know what that feels like, man. But I know that he finally was just like, you could see it. It just left him. It left his body, man. Like, this isn't happening. And I wonder now, he's going to work harder than anybody said this summer. He said, I bet you that I'll work hard. And I don't doubt it. I think he's a grinder. But what's he going to add, Adam?
That was what I wanted to ask you. When I heard that, I was almost like, yeah, okay, but this is almost a team problem. Like your skill you have to add is how to attack this collectively.
That's my point. I don't know what he means. Like, can he get his handle has dramatically improved since he came into the league. Can he get that even better? Maybe, but I don't know how much. Incrementally better. He's already added a deep step back 3 to his game. at a high volume. It's a huge part of his game. So he's added that. That put the work in. Maybe is it, I don't know, go become a better post player? LeBron did that. Kobe did that. Jordan did that. Like guys like that, they added that. So maybe that's something. Maybe that's something. He doesn't take a ton, if you think about it, of mid-range Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant type shots that there's no answer for. Maybe that's what he adds at a higher level. He doesn't take a lot of those. And that's the shot that I always say is like it's indefensible because you can shoot that as the double's coming towards you. Like you can go to spots on the floor, elevate with that 40-inch vertical, and you can shoot over in the middle. He doesn't do a lot of it. He either gets to the rim or he shoots a three. So maybe that's what he's talking about. Regardless, I don't know how much better he can get in terms of just skill. This is more about what they add around him. And that's what we have to look at. And, do you have questions now? Like, I mean, maybe you've always had them, is it enough with Julius Randle? I mean, hell, it's enough with Jalen Williams next to Shea. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's enough for a co-star.
Well, I mean, it's enough if you hold your opponents to 94 points every time, which is what they do.
Yes, I mean, I guess that's the point. If your second guy, because I think Jalen was a really good player, and he was great in the series, and he was great in Game 7 against Denver. He's a really, really good player. But I think what works for OKC is there's a very clear and well-defined pecking order. Everybody is slotted in, and they accept it. And I don't know they're ever not going to accept it. Like, just as in Jalen Williams, like James Harden was how many years ago that was in Oklahoma City when you knew that guy wants his own team.
Yeah.
Right. Russell Westbrook thought he was the best player on the court with Kevin Durant there. So that's not what this is. Jalen Williams and Chet slotted in 2-3, very happy to do that. Let's get a bunch of dudes that can either knock down open threes and defend around them. We're good. A second big too, by the way, we added that. So maybe that's what it is. It's okay. Get to that level defensively. Like, I don't know that you can do that, man. It's hard to find guys that want to play this hard, this consistently, Adam, collectively. Mark Daigneault or these guys internally, whatever, however you want to spread the credit, man. The front office, Sam Presti, I don't know how you want to give credit to this team, but they play harder, more consistently than any team in the NBA. That's really, to me, the number one thing that they do differently.
Yep. The speed and their ability to leverage that by just playing hard every second that they're on there, every recovery, everything else. I mean, to me, their team is great for two reasons. Their defense is as good as I've ever seen, especially in this modern era. And Shea offensively can control the tempo. He's efficient. He gets to his spots. He makes everything easy on the offensive end. And when you have those things, defensively, you're going crazy. Offensively, it comes easy. It's just a perfect formula. So now the Thunder own the Western Conference. They dominated. I mean, they had won 7-game series, but outside of that, they dominated. And now everybody in the West is going to have to alter their own strategies and say, that's who we're chasing, because they look like they're here to stay for a while. And now every team's going to have to figure out how they try to break into that. Let's take a break. On the other side, I want to get into some other stuff. We'll talk about tonight's game now and see if the Eastern Conference is going to wrap up just like the Western Conference did. And we'll take some mailbag questions about some other things around the association. First, let me tell you guys about Vivid Seats. The NBA playoffs are heating up, and there's no better time to experience the intensity in person. Whether you're trying to catch your favorite team live or just look at the best deals on live event tickets, let us tell you about our friends at Vivid Seats. Man, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in Oklahoma City for that first finals game. Oh my God, that crowd is going to be going nuts. Vivid Seats is the best place to get your tickets for any game or show. They have the best selection of seats, a 100% buyer guarantee, and they're the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. For a limited time, our listeners can use promo code ALLNBA30 to receive $30 off their first Vivid Seats purchase of $300 or more. Just click the link on the show notes or download the Vivid Seats app and use promo code ALLNBA30 for $30 off your first purchase of $300 or more. And that's not all. For the remainder of the NBA playoffs, Vivid Seats is giving away free tickets every week. Check out the exclusive Game Center in the Vivid Seats app and play NBA playoff pickets for your chance to win. When it comes to playoff hoops, being there is all that matters, so experience it live with Vivid Seats. Also want to tell you guys about FanDuel. It's the best place to find all your favorite player props, and now you can make the smarter play with new performance trends. Want to see if there's a guy hitting over consistently? Or maybe you're flirting with a potential triple-double. Get the latest stats right inside the app and see who's heating up. And once the game starts, that's when things get interesting. You can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. If you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to get in on the action. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to join today. I think the Knicks are only like plus 400 or something at this point, which seems kind of crazy for being down 3-1. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. All right, let's get into tonight's game. So we go to the Eastern Conference, same situation, 3-1. But in this one, you're going to New York, the team down 3-1. They get the home game, so they get 2 out of 3 at home. What's your expectation tonight? Is this series going to end, or do the Knicks have more fight in them?
It absolutely could. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, because it's been a tight series and now the Knicks are going home, they definitely are going to extend this to 6. I don't know that. Because to me, the Knicks have not shown, other than a couple of fairly short stretches in this series, that they can guard this team. So maybe Indiana has another one of those great offensive nights again tonight. That's very possible, and it could end. Or the Knicks in like a, maybe it's a 118, 117 game, and the Knicks win it. Because there's other times when the Pacers are having a hard time guarding them too. Knicks could win this game tonight. I think the Pacers have shown me enough over 4 games to know their offense is too good for the Knicks. And eventually they will win this series. So whether that happens tonight or whether that happens in Indiana, or maybe it takes 7 games, they're going to win one of the next 3 games. So for me, what I've noticed is the biggest problem the Knicks have is their personnel is not built to be able to stop the forward up court speed of Tyrese Haliburton. They don't have guys that can get up there and turn him the way I just said Dort did Anthony Edwards. They don't have guys that can even quickly, as the ball comes off the rim and Pacers grab a defensive rebound, run up and jam him up so he can't catch the outlet moving up the floor. They don't have that kind of personnel. Certainly it's not Brunson, and nor would you expect it to be when they've got other guys that's what they're supposed to be doing. Bridges, Anunoby, and Hart at the top of the list. I think Mikal Bridges is not physical enough to guard Tyrese Haliburton and get over the screens the way he needs to. He's not necessarily laterally quick enough. He's really long, and he is a good defender, and he's better at guarding wings that want to isolate and take jump shots because he can contest those. That's not what Haliburton is. That's not really a Bridges' strength. Anunoby is big and strong, kind of built like Dort, but he's not going to be quick enough
he's not
to be able to run with him. So that leaves Hart. I think Josh Hart's probably the best candidate if you want to know. And I think the key to all of this is you've got to stop the freedom of movement of Tyrese Haliburton. It's that simple, one way or another. He is in an incredible zone, man. He's out there just playing almost like pickup basketball. And the Knicks can't affect him. And so they've got to figure that out, Adam. If they can't, maybe it does end tonight. Or it's a shootout and somehow they win the game. But it's not going to be unless something changes because they shut the Pacers down. They haven't really done it through 4 games. So the Pacers are just clicking, man. They're clicking, and the Knicks don't have enough answers on how to slow down this machine offensively.
For you personally, and this is kind of just a silly question, would you rather close out a series at home in front of the home fans or on the road? Because Madison Square Garden is obviously great, but they have been shook by this series because Indiana has controlled most of it. So in your personal opinion, what would be more fun?
I think if you're going and sitting down across the table from someone who can foretell the future, and they say you're definitely going to win this series, which way do you want it? I'd say, yeah, give me home, man. Give me home.
Really?
In front of that crowd. Yeah, of course. Give me at home. Yeah, because you want to celebrate, man.
You get the
you want to celebrate. You want to celebrate quicker. You want to celebrate
Yeah.
quicker with the people, all the people in your life, and let's go and let's have a good time tonight. Let's get to it right now. And the people in the building
Yeah.
celebrating with you. Yeah, but like, but listen, we don't know that. So just let me end it, because if they lose tonight, if they lose tonight, there is an immeasurable amount of pressure that is
Clicks
now
up.
on their plate for game 6, because now you've just got this last home game, and they're going to feel that probably a little bit. And and I thought whatever. I thought Minnesota was actually very tight last night, which is weird because in that situation, I think you're looser on the road than you are at home. You're about to be closed out. You're nervous, more nervous at home, I would believe. So I thought the Minnesota was kind of tight at the start of the game, which is kind of weird. But for the Pacers, you want to take care of things, man, if you can. This extends back to Indiana. The Knicks have some momentum because they just beat you. They figured something out, and now you've got one more home game. That's a lot more pressure for guys to make shots.
I agree with you, but here's one belief I have, and I think it's true of both Oklahoma City and Indiana. I think it was true of Denver in 2023, and I think it's true of most teams that go on to the finals. They're getting better at what they are. It's not that they are evolving. It's that they're getting better at their core identity as these playoffs go on. And I think it's true of Indiana. I definitely think it's true of Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City, that Denver series was important for them because they were as good as they have as they're playing, but they needed someone to kind of push them to elevate to that. They did that. And I think this last round was their best round. They looked the most dominant because of it. I think Indiana is in a similar situation where they are good. They've been doing this to some extent all year, but this is the best they've been doing it at any point this year. And that's why I think they win tonight, is I think they have found a rhythm and found a groove where it's like, we are locked in to our best self and they're just going to get it every night. Whereas the Knicks, it's got to be shot making. It's got, like you said, I don't trust that their defense is going to get the enough stops to make this a defensive game. So it comes down to shot making. And I don't think the Knicks are their best self at this moment.
I think it's going to come down to, for me, if the Knicks want to win this game, it's going to maybe be one of those really, really special nights out of Brunson where, and he's been, look, he's been very good throughout the series, throughout the playoffs. He typically always is. He's averaging almost 30 points a game in the postseason. He is averaging in this series, if I can pull that up, he's averaging 33 points a game in the series. But I'm talking about maybe it takes 45, get to the line 16 times, control everything. Maybe that's what it's going to take. Because if they're just going to go out there and just trade punches, Indiana's going to beat you at that game. So it's like you have to be throwing the heavier punches. And Brunson, I think, is the guy most capable of doing that, because I think where else? You're going to expect Cat to go crazy? I don't think that's going to happen. He's been very good. Something has to happen for the Knicks that's above and beyond what we've seen to this point. And I don't think it's going to be defensively, because I don't know that they can do it against this team. So it's got to be maybe offensively, something happens above the norm that we've seen to this point in the series. And maybe Brunson's the most likely guy to do it. Does he come out and have like a 16-point first quarter? And like now they can't contain him. He's getting whistles. He's just dominating them. He gets into that comfort zone, hitting threes. And now he's got the heaviest, he's got the heaviest shot of the night. And that's the one that ultimately gets him over it. I still don't think they're going to win the series, but maybe that's what it takes tonight. Benedict Mathurin finally finding his game in game 4 was a bad sign for the Knicks, because they had him bottled up and he's important to this team. He had 20 points in 12 minutes, got to the line 11 times. He's in the series now in his mind. So that's another thing you got to deal with. You weren't even dealing with that the first 4 games or first 3 games.
All right, we did some mailbag questions. We'll do some quick hitters to get out of here. Producer James, what do we have? Nito on this one comes from our YouTube account. Make sure you're subscribed so you can participate in these mailbags. What are y'all's thoughts on teams' windows to win a championship being tighter than ever before, given the newest CBA? I think this is true, and I'll go back and just say in the last 2 years, the Nuggets win, they dominate, and it's like, okay, they're going to be here for a while. They end up getting knocked off in the second round. The Celtics win, same thing. Oh, this looks like a window that's going to be there for a while. They had some injuries. It didn't work out, knocked out in the second round. At this very moment, it sure feels like the Thunder are going to be there for a while. but to their point, that hasn't been the trend lately. What do you think?
I agree with the question. I think it is harder than ever. I think the Jason Tatum injury also showed you that. It's just I feel like guys get hurt to a greater degree than they used to for
Yeah.
a variety of reasons. It's a whole show we could do on that and why I think that is. So that's tougher. It's tougher because of the CBA to continue to keep your roster intact. I do think Oklahoma City looks different. I think they are built for something that's very sustainable. The ages, the personality types of their top players, I think lends itself to doing something really special. The fact that their main identity and reason for winning is on the defensive end of the floor, so you're not as dependent upon making shots to win. I think that is sustainable long term, and that's Mark Daigneault. That's the culture they've built. Anybody that comes in is going to be a guy they've targeted because they buy into that. Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein. So I think it looks good. I think the injury factor is the one that's gotten some of these other teams. It's really hurt other teams, man. It's hurt the Bucks starting with Chris Middleton. It's hurt the Celtics now. Jason Tatum going down. The Nuggets dealt with injuries at inopportune times. Oklahoma City hasn't dealt with that stuff yet. They haven't won a title yet, by the way, either. And I saw a topic bar yesterday on a TV show that said, "Are the Thunder a dynasty yet?" And I just fell out of my chair. They haven't won it yet. Dude, we do know what dynasty, like, which, typical definition, right? Please.
We never
people,
be too early.
Come on, people. It looks good. It looks promising. They're going to be
really
favorites.
good.
Yeah, it looks favorites. They're going to be favorites this year. They're probably going to win it this year.
Yeah.
But like you said, I love your point. Denver didn't look like a one-title team to me.
Yeah.
Boston didn't look like a one-title team to me.
It's tough.
And
man.
I'm not saying that's it for them, but man, it looks like it's going to be hard. It's uphill now. And so Oklahoma City right now, I think, is positioned in a really good place, assuming they win it this year, to be in the mix here for the foreseeable future because of the personalities of their top players and the culture they've built there and how they win.
The one thing that's different to me about Oklahoma City as compared to Boston or Denver is that their depth is real. And I had somebody with a team this summer, or really this fall going into the season, tell me the Thunder could lose one of their big three for the year and still be the 1 seed. And I remember thinking to this, like, I mean, I'm high on them. I don't know if I'm that high. They said, trust me. Well, Chet went down for 2 months and they were the number 1 seed by 8 games. It turned out that prediction weirdly turned out to be true. So I think the Thunder just have the depth, the style, the conveyor belt. Oh, by the way, Legs, they have 4 first-round picks this year. And Nikola Topic, who was basically a lottery pick, will be a rookie next year. They just have so much ability to add to their roster or keep this thing going. It's pretty crazy. All right, what else we got? What do you think that was the best playoff battle till now? Denver Clippers or Denver OKC or some other matchup? What has been your favorite playoff series or best battle?
My favorite playoff series to this point was Detroit and the Knicks.
Yeah, that was a great one.
That was my favorite series we've had to this point. Those other ones great. Denver Clippers was great. Houston Golden State was a great series. Denver OKC is weird because it went 7, but Denver got blown out twice. And did they have Did they have a blowout of their own in that series? Did they?
No. They had a game where they were up like 18 or something, late, and then they blew it, and it came down to the wire.
It's weird to have a 7-game series where there's 2 blowouts. I don't know of a team, but to that extent. So I don't know. It was certainly had a lot of drama. It was very compelling, particularly when Denver got up. I mean, Denver went up 2-1. It was like, wow, man, whoa. And that game 4, which was a tight game in Denver that Oklahoma City won. You think about, man, a handful of possessions in the fourth quarter of that game are like any different. Denver wins that game, go up 3-1. The OKC is still capable of coming back. They're like one team you wouldn't rule out, but maybe not, man. So that game might be the one you would look to and say, wow, they dodged one there. Because that was
the 36-hour turnaround game, 92-87. Nobody made a shot all game. It was the ugliest game ever.
Yeah, but I think for me personally, I think the best series that I've seen start to finish, in terms of just drama the whole way, was Knicks Pistons.
That was a great series. That was a great one. Excited for the Pistons next year. What else we got? Would love to hear more Legs story time from his playing days in the league. Who was your favorite teammate or coach? You've kind of talked about this before, favorite teammates and stuff, but maybe you got
Yeah,
another person to shout out.
different guys, different teams, right? It's always that case. I think in Golden State, it was Chris Mullin, without a doubt. Like, and he taught me a lot, man. I thought I was a gym rat until I met Chris Mullin. I realized there's another level to this thing. The guy practically lived at the arena, and you felt guilty leaving before he did. So I ended up realizing that I had to stay even longer.
Did other teammates do that? I'm curious, real quick. Did other people, because you saw that and were like, okay, I'm staying. Did everyone stay?
No, unfortunately, because we didn't have great. We did not have a great culture in that locker room. It was a little bit dysfunctional to a certain extent. We were between coaches. There was an interim, so there was like a lot of stuff going on at the time. So no, unfortunately, you know what it would end up being? The arena would clear out, and me, Chris Mullin, and Ronnie Cycli would be left in the gym, and we were playing like one-on-one knockout for hours, shooting drills. It was great, man. It was a great time in my life. To this day, Chris Mullin is a friend of mine, and just saw him recently. So it all was built there. So like different, even, and some guys you might not be too familiar with, like in Dallas, there was a guy named Sean Rooks. I don't know if you remember Sean Rooks. He was a pretty good, serviceable center for years in the league, starter in Dallas. We were young and not very good. And then back up later in his career. Sadly, it was an assistant coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. He actually passed away a number of years ago in his 40s. He was having dinner at a restaurant in Philadelphia, man, and had heart failure and passed away. But we rode to every game together for 2 years, and he became my road buddy. We went to a lot of movies together and hung out and all that. So, not too many people probably familiar with him. And then Washington, Calbert Chaney, I've always said, is a guy that I just loved playing with, the ultimate pro, great personality and just a worker. So we hit it off there. And then my favorite coach is definitely Jimmy Lynam in Washington. The years I got to play for him, he brought out the best in me, and personality that I jived with.
Yeah, good question. I liked it, man. I liked hearing those stories. What else we got? Last one? Or we have some super chats here. Oh, we have this one. Legs, do you think Anthony Edwards can lead his team to the biggest moments to bring them a championship? Also, what do you think of his comments in the postgame? We talked about the postgame presser. Well, here's the thing, Legs. Anthony Edwards is 23 years old. He's young. This is the thing that happens. You make it to the Western Conference Finals. That should be a good thing. You lose, and then the question comes, can he ever get over the hump?
Man, I tell you, I knew this was going to happen too. And I said it last night when I was walking out of the studio, and I was talking with Scott Van Pelt and Stanford Steve, and we're talking, and I said, well, get ready. They're like, what? I said, topic bars tomorrow on all these talk shows. Yeah. Anthony Edwards overrated. Is Anthony Edwards
loser?
This and that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a winner. Like I was like, watch, this is what they're going to be talking about, because we have to go there with these guys. Here's what I'll say to answer the question. It remains to be seen if he can, but I am definitely not prepared to say he can't. There's just no way I'm going to go there with the level of growth he has shown in his game to this point. I think absolutely he is a top-notch competitor. I don't doubt that about Anthony Edwards. Yeah, he's got some things he's got to tighten up and polish up in his game. I said the same thing about Jason Tatum for years. And he kept adding and adding, but the guy was competing. He was adding something to his game every year, and eventually broke through. And, it helped when they put a good enough team around him to win. They put the best team together in the league. So Anthony Edwards have some acquisitions to be made to close that gap with the Thunder. But I'm not prepared to sit here and say, well, Anthony Edwards will never get it done. No way in hell am I willing to give a take like that. Is he enough though? I don't know. That remains to be seen. Let's see what the team does. Let's see what he looks like next year when he talks about what his summer's going to look like for him personally.
When your team gets into title contention, that's when you realize how hard it is to win a title. Because the Timberwolves were good. They had good runs. You watch them, you go, okay, we can do it. And then you lose in blowout fashion in 5 games, and you go, wow, there's a whole other level we have to go up. And it's just that's why you appreciate when they come around, if they come around. It's so hard to get one. We have some super chats, James. Let's plow through those. Drew Chung says, "Do Wolves re-sign Randall, and Nas? Who's out? They can't. I don't think they can sign all three of them. If you had to pick two out of the three, who would you pick?"
Man, oh man, I tell you what, I feel a little bit differently right now about Julius Randle and Nas
I
Reed.
know.
And
This
so
is a
you're
tough
like,
thing.
you know what I mean? Because it's like, man, it's such a bad look. Like right now, it's just like you're thinking about what I just watched. But I overall, I know how I feel about those guys, and I really think Nas Reed is super valuable. Julius Randle, man, I don't know. The guy had a very good second half of the year, 2 great rounds. Like I don't know, man. I'm back to feeling a little bit differently about Julius Randle, but I'm not ready to say, oh, blow it up. I don't want to do that either, man. So it's tough. But of those three, I think in terms of like consistent value that they bring relative to their ceiling, I like Nas Reed. I think the most out of the three guys.
Wow. That is the tough part for Julius Randle. I mean, he's great all year. Then you have one bad series, and everyone's going to wonder, like, hey, is he actually this or is he actually that? It's a tough one. What else we got? Jay Money says, Legs, the first one to predict Pacers' success, was the first one to applaud Mavs at the trade deadline last year. Where does he land in a GOAT analyst debate? First team all analyst right there.
Wait a second, though. You got to be more definitive. The GOAT conversation isn't a team. It's one guy. I mean, what the hell? You don't have 5 GOATs running together. It's
Legs,
one.
I think easily top 20 analysts going right now. Easily top 20.
Top 20. All right, man. Listen, man. Hey, James.
Hey,
right Mark. Here. See what Mark's up to tomorrow.
Yeah. hold on. Here's what I'll give you. Legs, you're the Jokic of analysts.
No,
I can't go higher than that. I can't go higher than that, man.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I would say you're the Boris Diaw of analysts, but you know what? I'll give you Jokic.
Although I don't know, though. You're giving me the Jokic, which means I was the best 3 out of the last 5 years and not currently. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm digging that. I don't know if I'm digging that analogy now when I think about it.
Hey, you were robbed. You were robbed this year. Everybody said you were the best, just not the most valuable. That's the difference. What else we got? Drew Chung says, is Wolves' problem not having their own identity? Their identity was essentially Jokic Denver beaters. They built their team specifically for one team. I don't know if this is totally true. They built a team that's very good. I mean, they have a great defense. They have a great system. But it is true, in my opinion, that every team in their conference has to look at who owns the conference and build something around them. Say, hey, so it's going to happen with OKC. Now teams are going to say, how do we beat them? And they'll make decisions, not every decision, but some decisions based on, does this work against Oklahoma City?
Western Conference is something, man. It's something. Think about the teams that could be injected into this next year that had their seasons unceremoniously dispatched, whether it's by injury, underachievement, whatever. Like, look, think about what Dallas Mavericks are getting Cooper Flag. AD, Kyrie, I don't know when they're going to see him, maybe March, but at some point probably going to see him. So Dallas is going to be in the mix, man. They're going to be relevant next year. The Lakers, I don't know, like that who knows? I mean, they've got Luka Doncic and LeBron James. So let's see Luka's second year in LA, more comfortable. What does he do over the summer? Does any of this criticism he's taken mean anything to him? Let's see. Let's see what he looks like coming in. But that's a team you're looking at going, oh, damn. That's right. They're going to be in the mix next year. Who knows what San Antonio does next year with Wembanyama, coming back, hopefully healthy. Rookie of the year, Stephon Castle. Like that, they're a team that's going to be in the mix. Then you got these other teams like Phoenix still has all this talent. What are they going to do with their guys? The Clippers. The Denver Nuggets, the Western Conference. The Western Conference is just a mess. And give Minnesota credit, man. Somehow, some way, they have navigated their way to the last series in the West. But clearly, 2 years in a row now, you see, just not quite good enough. Yeah. And so, what are they going to do? But I don't know, man. I don't think that you look at them and say they were only built for one team. I think they built a good team, as Adam said. They're a good team.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, right now, relative to the best team, it's not close.
Yeah. What last one? We have one more super chat. Christoph says, does taking 3 games from OKC by Denver make them second best team in the West? Isn't Haliburton a poor man Jokic in terms of being a son to a team, meaning the center of it? How would you rank the Western Conference now that you've seen all the teams play and how it shook out? OKC clearly number 1, no question asked.
Now that I saw what Minnesota and Oklahoma City looked like, Denver is the second best team in the Western Conference right now, as we sit here. And they were because they have this incredibly unique, great player, this force that can beat you so many different ways, that can elevate everybody around. Because Anthony Edwards is a great player. I don't know that I would say yet Anthony Edwards elevates everybody else on the floor to where if you game plan against him, he's going to beat you in another way. Jokic can do that. Clearly, they gave Oklahoma City a much tougher series than Minnesota. So, yeah, as I look at it right now with the uncertainties around the Lakers, Rockets, I think, are too young right now. Golden State, their rest of their roster was exposed when Curry got hurt. So, yes, I look at Denver right now as we sit here. Yeah. I think the series they gave OKC made a statement about, hey, man, we're still above these other teams because Minnesota didn't really belong in this series with OKC.
Hang the banner, Denver. Second best in the West. Let's do it. Let's roll. It feels so good. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in.
And by the way, apparently, people, if you drive down the road and you look over, and I live in a rural area in Florida, and there's a goat farm near me, and I look over there, and I just see a field full of goats, because that's how Adam views me. I'm just another goat in a field full of goats. There's a bunch of goats. They don't know which one Legler is, but he's out there somewhere.
He's one of them. He's just one of them, man.
I'm the goat. I'm the goat standing on top of that little shed they built for those goats. I'm that goat.
The top goat.
That damn thing.
That's right. Top goat.
A goat in a field of goats. Unbelievable.
Legs, you know this. You're my guy. You're all of our guy. Definitely the top analyst, which is why you're on this very show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed. We will have a recap tomorrow, recapping the whatever happens in the Eastern Conference Finals. Does it wrap up tonight or does it get pushed to 6? Whatever happens, we'll be talking about it. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
All silly like the mayor.